lighting the candles. Are the Greenbergs here? Deborah, do you want to light the candles?
Oh, sure.
Well, Kanahara.
Kanahara. Yeah.
Y'all know what Kanahara means? Does anyone know? Do y'all know that term?
Never.
Never heard it?
Never.
Okay. Kanahara is do you know what it means, Deborah? You know what it means?
Kanahara, it's like
I don't mean like. What does it mean? Okay.
precious. I just know how my family.
Kanahara it's from the old country. It's Yiddish. It means Kain Ayin Hora, literally no evil eye. And the way to ward off the evil eye is if you say something that's good news, you immediately say Kain Ayin Hora, or the way it's mostly said, which is Kanahara. So if you hear Jewish people say Kanahara, anyone who says we're not a superstitious lot isn't thinking really hard, okay? It's a way of warding off the evil eye, and you say Kanahara.
Well, we get frowned upon.
Yeah, exactly. We don't knock on wood. That's true. We don't cross our fingers so much, yeah. But we say Kanahara. That's right, and we spit now and then. Deborah, please. Kanahara. Yeah, you want to light it before you put the glass back. Yeah, burn your hand.
Praise for you and knowing the Bill's presence rules the world, empowers us with mitzvah, and inspires us to kindle the Shabbat life.
May God bless us with Shabbat joy. May God bless us with Shabbat holiness. May God bless us with Shabbat peace. Amen.
Or Zarua. Or Zarua la tzadik u'lishrei lev simcha. Or Zarua la tzadik u'lishrei lev simcha. Or Zarua la tzadik u'lishrei lev simcha. U'lishrei lev simcha. Or Zarua la tzadik u'lishrei lev simcha. U'lishrei lev simcha. La 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 la.
Do we pick up at Lechuranina, or was that in lieu of?
We can do that.
Okay. Page 2, y'all, Lechuranina.
Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu, nikar mafan hatodah. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu, bismirot naria lo. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai.
Thank you. Let's see. Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash. Together from Psalm 96, sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along, all the earth a new song unto God. Okay, there's Orders of Road, which we just did. Psalm 99, page 5. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu. Together, it is you who established equity, you who works righteous judgment in Jacob. Exalt Adonai our God and bow down toward God's footstool. God is holy. Exalt Adonai our God and bow down toward God's holy mountain. For Adonai our God is holy. Page 7, L'chadodi. And y'all know the drill as well as I. For the last stanza, we'll stand, we'll turn, we'll face the Sabbath bride. All right.
Hold on, sorry.
We'll tune our guitar, we'll stand up.
Fix the capo. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Bnei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד הוא שמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נשואה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תהילה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עליך נגלה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. אוהי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמונם סגולה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
Sadiq Kadamar Yifrach Ke'eretz Lebanon Yiskah. The righteous bloom like a palm, they thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Page 9, y'all. The Chatzi Kaddish will do that, right?
התקדש מרבה,
Amen. Please be seated.
ועמד בברכיותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל. בגלה ובזמן קריב, יהי שמרה במבורך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי לקודשה בריחו, לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירם בעלמה, וימרו אמן.
Now please rise for the Baruch.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך, המבורך לעולם ועד. המבורך, המבורך לעולם ועד.
Thanks. Be seated, please. Page 11, Mariv Aravim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'davro Mariv Aravim, b'chochma poteach sha'arim, uv'tvuna mishana atim, umachalif et hazmanim, umastir et hakochavim, b'mishporatechem barakia kirtsono. Borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or. Umavir yom umevi layla. Umavdil ben yom uvein layla. Adonai tzvot shemo el chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai hamariv arivim. Unending is your love for your people, the house of Israel. Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts have you taught us. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and rejoice in your Torah and mitzvot forever. Together, day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life and the length of our days. Then your love shall never depart from our hearts. Blessed is Adonai, who loves the people Israel. Please rise for the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, וחיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, וחיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים ללוליהם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Emet ve'emunah kol zot. True and enduring, beloved and precious, awesome, good, and beautiful is this eternal teaching. This truth we hold to be forever certain. Adonai is our ruler, the rock of Jacob, shield of our salvation. Adonai, our God, you redeemed us from Egypt. You set us free from the house of bondage. For this, the people who felt your love sang songs of praise to you. Living God, high and exalted, mighty and awesome, who humbles the proud and raises the lowly, who frees the captive and redeems the oppressed, who is the answer to all who cry out. All praise to Most High, the source of blessing. Like Moses in Israel, we sing this song of rejoicing.
Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקי הים לפני משה, זה אלי אנו ואמרו, זה אלי אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom. Grant that we lie down in peace, Adonai our God, and raise us up, O Sovereign, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Together, shield us from hatred and plague. Keep us from war, famine, and anguish. Subdue our inclination to evil. O God, our guardian and helper, our gracious and merciful sovereign, give us refuge in the shadow of your wings. O guard our coming and our going, that always we have life and peace. We praise you, O God, whose sukkah of peace is spread over us, over all your people, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, haparesh sukkat shalom, aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. Please rise if you're able for the tefillah on page 17.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei HaKol, Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, U'me'id Yoav Livnei B'neihem, Le'man Shemo Yahweh, Melech Ozer Moshiach Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Etzras Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atar Rav Moshiach, Mechakel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofeh Cholim,
umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, lishanei afar, michamocha geluchot, umidom elach, melech menit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'emanata lechayot hakol, baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, וקדושה בכל יום יחלוך סלע, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. We sit now? We sit now, don't we? So normally, we have the option of Vishamru or Yismachu. Tanya's not as familiar with Yismachu, but we thought this would be a great opportunity for us to do it all together so she hears the group doing it. We're going to do Yismachu tonight. Don't all cheer at once, okay? All right, hold it down, okay? So, that's right, I guess I have to start because there's no guitar. All right, so, this is call and repeat. We've done this lots of times before. Yismechu v'malachutecha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, oneg Shabbat. Mekadeshei, Mekadeshei Shavi Shabbat, Kulam, Yisbe'u, Ve'yikanu metu vecha Shabbat, Yismechu Shabbat, Yismechu ve'malachutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat ve'korei, oneg Shabbat. Yismechu ve'malachutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat ve'korei, oneg Shabbat. Ushvi'i, Ratzita bo, Ratzita bo ve'kadashto Shabbat, Chemdad, Yamim, Otokerata Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, oneg Shabbat. Zecher, Lemase, Lemase v'reishit Shabbat. Zecher, Lemase, Lemase v'reishit Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, strong ending. Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, oneg Shabbat. All right. I think you can do that next time, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Do we close with Ritzeh? Or do we move on? See, the rabbi leaves so many notes that they don't make any sense by this point, okay? They're just so many notes. And I'm a Saturday morning person. I haven't been Friday night for a long time, so.
He normally does some kind of Ritzah.
He does it sometimes he
Oh, okay. Well, let's Ritzeh Adonai Eloheinu Bamcha Yisrael Uftufa Tiflatam ba'ahava tekabel. Adonai, our God, show favor towards your people Israel and lovingly receive our prayers. May the worship of your people Israel always be acceptable. For you alone do we hold in reverence. And then we close with Shalom.
Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol bashalom. Atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol ein ubechol shah bishlomecha. Shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam.
Please take a moment for your own thoughts and prayers.
Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru v'imeru amen. Ose shalom bimromav, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru v'imeru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Thank you, Tanya. So, 24 hours and 56 minutes. That was my preparation time. And the first thing I thought was, well, I'll talk about the Torah portion. I did some research on what turned out to be last week's Torah portion. But I did a little more reading, and of course this week is, what is the name of this? It's Vayetze, it's called, which is really the story of Jacob's ladder. So I'll tell you a little bit about Jacob's ladder. It's a dream. He's got his head on a rock, falls asleep, dreams of this stairway to heaven, that goes two ways, up and down. There's angels coming down, angels going up. So the Kabbalah, medieval Jewish thought that was very mystical, they said, it represents all three of the patriarchs. That traditionally Abraham, they thought of as love, Isaac, awe and reverence for God, and Jacob, compassion. They said the difference between Abraham's emotion, which is love, and Isaac's emotion, he said you don't love everybody. You don't have awe for everyone. But we have the ability to have compassion for everyone. And so it's only Jacob who has the ladder that goes up to heaven and back. Okay, and I thought, okay, that's about as much Torah as I feel like talking about tonight, because I follow the news like everyone else does. And the last couple of weeks have been so rent with anti-Semitism. And I thought, now there's a topic I can talk about, and not have to use a lot of tertiary sources. So I'm going to start with a question that someone asked me a couple weeks ago. I was in Scottsdale for a conference of people from my company from all around the world. And I was late for lunch, a bunch of us were, because they serve lunch early. And so we went to the restaurant, and I was sitting by myself, and these two men said, why don't you come sit with us? And they said it with a slight accent. It was obviously, they weren't English speakers, they're Dutch. And Nick, who is a peer of mine, but we had never met before. So Nick's from Amsterdam, and we talked for a long time. And the first thing he said, I don't understand why when I see lists of places to visit in the world, so many people put Amsterdam. I said, well, Amsterdam's a beautiful city with so much to see. I said, look, I used to live in New York. I know. If you live in New York, you don't go to the museums. You don't go to Broadway. You just tell everyone, I can go to Broadway when I want, but you never do. Especially when you have kids, you go to Chili's and you hope they don't scream, He said, exactly. He said, to be honest, I've never been to the Anne Frank house. And I said, oh my God, I think that's what my face said. And I said, well, you have to. He said, no, I've learned all about it. He said, I keep thinking I can go another time. I said, well, you really should go. And we quickly started talking about anti-Semitism. And his colleague was the one, Remco, another colleague of mine, also from Amsterdam. He said the question that I had to sort of translate, because he said, why is there anti-Semitism against Jews? And that's not what he meant to say. What he meant to say was, why is there this unique prejudice against Jewish people? So he wasn't saying, why are but that's what he meant to say. And when I sort of restated it for him, he said, yeah, that's exactly. So that's the question I thought. I'll tell you later how I answered. I'll tell you how we got to an answer, but we'll talk about anti-Semitism. So the word anti-Semitism is not that old, okay? Yad Vashem, and I think the U.S. Holocaust Museum, they have the book where the word was coined. It was coined by a guy named Wilhelm Marr in 1877. He was a German journalist who didn't like Jews. And he wrote a political tract. It came in several volumes. It was printed again and again and again. It's called Der Weg zum Siege des Germanentums über das Judentum. What I've learned in life is when you see Germans mentioning Judentum, Juden in any way, it's never going to be good. At least it hasn't been good for a long time. And what that means is the way to victory of Germanism over Judaism. Okay, that's the name of his tract. And he said, you know, anti-Semitism is really racial. He said, let's face it, there's lots of reasons why we don't like the Jews, but really, you know, we're a class, we know the Aryan class, and they're a different group. We really shouldn't use the word we've used traditionally. We should use a more sophisticated word, and one that makes it clear that it's race-based, based on the Semitic languages and the Semitic people, rather than the word that we've used for a long time. Now that word was Judenhass, all right? And that word means Jew hate, okay? So the traditional term that anti-Semitism, or antisemitismus in German, replaced was Jew hate, all right? That's something to remember when you hear people say Arabs or Palestinians or Lebanese or Maronites can't be anti-Semitic because they're Semitic. Fine, call yourselves Jew haters and just get it out of the way, okay? Anti-Semitism means against Jews. It's a euphemism for Jew hate. So let's start from that perspective in the late 19th century. So what gave rise to traditional anti-Semitism, to traditional Jew hate? Well, the number one reason, and this one goes back 1,800 years, is deicide, you know, deicide, killing of a god. The god in this case, Jesus, Jews blame for it. Mostly in the letters of Paul, you know, he's really created sort of the what we would think of as the anti-Semitic aspects of Christianity or the Catholic faith. So that picked up until about the 11th, well, really until about the 13th century, and at least in Europe, okay. That's when the blood libel came up, all right? The blood libel started in the 1100s, early 1200s. And the blood libel, deep roots for it across Europe, really, it predates the Black Plague. It's this long-held belief that Jews kill a Christian baby at least once a year to put blood into the Passover matzah. Okay, that's the blood libel. And that got a lot of Jews murdered, often burned alive, because of at least the allegation of blood libel. Now, there's histories of the blood libel, and a lot of them make it clear that it was a pretext for taking the property or foreclosing on the debts that were owned by Jews. That most of the blood libelists didn't even have a pretense or pretext of believing that this was something that Jews did, but it was a convenient way to scapegoat Jews, again, and take their property. The beneficiary was usually the Catholic Church, or for the property that they owned, or the nobles to whom they had lent money. So the blood libel rose throughout the years, the centuries, never went away, still cases involving allegations of the blood libel into the 20th century, and still writing about it even into the 21st. Lots of different reasons. Here's what the Holocaust Museum says. They said some of the reasons are religious, political, economic, social, and racial. Jews have been discriminated against, hated, and killed because prejudiced non-Jews believe they belonged to the wrong religion, lacked citizenship qualifications, practiced business improperly, behaved inappropriately, or possessed inferior racial characteristics. And points out that all of these played their part in the Holocaust. Now, we like to say, and a lot of Philo-Semites, people who love Jews, Philo, philosophy, lover of wisdom, Philo-Semite, lover of Jews. Friends of the Jews like to say that, and Jews say too, that anti-Semitism is a canary in the coal mine. That it's a sign that when anti-Semitism rises in a society, it's a sign of deeper problems. And this kind of gets to the heart of Nick and Remco's question. The word's trope, okay? Trope is a word that comes from the Greek. It means to turn. That's what it means. Trophy. The original trophies were a hill that the Greeks would put up after a battle. And it comes from the same word, because it's where the battle turned, where they routed the enemy. There was a turn in the battle and they won. And it's where they would bury their dead. And it was the trophy, it was the monument to where the battle turned. So the trope is sort of critical to all this. And this is what I said to Remco and Nick. I said, Jews engender tropes that other minorities don't. It isn't that other minorities don't have tropes, whether it's that they're lazy, or that they drink, or that they're tight-fisted with their money, or that they fight a lot, you name the minority, you can probably name a trope associated with them. But we have a unique couple of tropes, and they're often inconsistent. One of the tropes, of course, is that Jews have too much power. And another one of the tropes is that Jews are conspiratorial. And it's what I said, I gave the example to two men from Amsterdam. I said, look, there's a lot of Indonesians in Amsterdam. He said, yeah. I said, and I'm sure there's people who say, you know, there's too many darn Indonesians in our city. They bring their Rijstafel, that's their distinctive cuisine. They bring their Rijstafel here, and they want to take over. They want to take over too much of our city and too much of our jobs. He said, yeah, you know, there are some people who say that. Yeah, I said, but they don't say that they're doing it for the purpose of of converting all of us to their religion. And they don't say it that they're doing it and at the same time they own all the media and are able to silence us, to force us to do this. And they don't have a history of trying to kill us or kill the Indonesians simply for wanting to pray their own way. So that's kind of the difference. I told you about Wilhelm Marr. Wilhelm Marr said, he couldn't keep a kippah on either. Wilhelm Marr said, Jews are the very best citizens in Germany, which sounds like a compliment. And he said that's proof of their duplicity. That he said they are so good at covering their conspiracy that they're model citizens. And he sort of said the same thing as later generations of Germans did about converts. It's something that goes back to the 15th century and to the conversos and to the expulsion of the Jews from Spain. But the allegation was Jews who convert are just doing a better job of hiding their part in the conspiracy than Jews who don't convert. And that's the way Marr thought, and that's the way anti-Semites think in many respects. So there's this incredible dissonance. Not that the Jews are the worst citizens, they're the best citizens because they're insidious. They're able to work their way into the halls of power, and then we do whatever it is that we do according to our protocols. You see the same sort of dichotomy, that same sort of inconsistency when you hear the current fights about Judaism. If we say nothing, well, we frankly can't say nothing. Okay, it's not right to say nothing. It's not in our DNA to say nothing. And we've seen in the past that passivity is no friend to fighting prejudice. But the louder we speak, the more we're accused of being pushy, or of having too much of a bully pulpit and too much control of the media to get our message out. The more we're able to point out that companies that do business with anti-Semites aren't the companies that we want to do business, that people shouldn't do business with. And the more successful we are at boycotting the companies that would otherwise, sell anti-Semitic products or carry the labels of people who are anti-Semitic, the more we're accused of having control of the economy. It's more obvious evidence of our influence over banks and over bankers. And so it's this continual fight, and so that's where I ended this. It said, so what's the answer? And I think the answer is we've learned that saying nothing is never the right thing to do. That we always have to speak up. We're blessed in this day and time, in this society, with allies. And I remember coming into shul the morning of the Tree of Life shooting. And I grew up in the neighborhood. Most of you know I grew up in the neighborhood where Tree of Life Synagogue is. And I remember my kids were younger. And I remember I told them this isn't like the Holocaust. It happened at this time of year around Kristallnacht. And if you look at pictures, mostly newsreels from Kristallnacht, you see either the police and the fire guard, the fire department, standing by or taking part. There's some very famous pictures that were taken inside a synagogue that show the police actually grabbing Torahs and sacred texts and just, laughing as they're taking them away. If you see what happened in Pittsburgh, and there's a very good documentary on HBO about the Tree of Life shooting, the police ran in to save people, to save our people. And if you don't see that as a difference between 1938 and 2018, then you're being too hard on a country that's very good to us and is, as Rabbi likes to say, the promised land for Jews. And so I think the answer is we continue to speak out, and we continue to seek allies, and we continue to punish the companies that associate with anti-Semites, and we reward the ones who take the proper stand, whether it's repulsion or shutting them down. We stand with them. It's probably the best thing we can do on a day-to-day basis for our society and for ourselves. So that's what I had to sort of get off my chest, and I appreciate your time. Shabbat Shalom. So there should be an officer who's here to read the announcements. And there he is. So pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Here you are, Bob.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom. So as I'm sure, or at least hopefully you have figured out, the Craze and Stop the Bleed sessions for this month have been canceled. We didn't get a lot of response. I suspect it has to do with everything else going on this time of year. But if you are still interested in taking it, we will have some more sessions coming up in May. And we're going to continue to try to do it at least a couple of times a year. As a side note to that, some people have asked about CPR, AED, and first aid training, and we're working with Flower Mound Fire Department right now to get a class set up for that as well. So as soon as I have more information on that, I'll be sure to get that in the blast so that everybody's aware of it. We have a few office closings coming up in December. The first one will be Monday. Since I'm here, I can tell you exactly what's going on. Rachel's a senior, and this is her last field trip, and I have been formally told that I am to chaperone this field trip. So I will be there like a good father and do my duty. And then, also on a more personal note, from December 15th through the 22nd, my wife and I are going out for our 30th anniversary trip, so the office will also be closed there. Obviously, we'll still be continuing to have services and all of the other regular activities that go on during there, but just the office itself will be closed. I asked the rabbi if he wanted to keep the office open while I was gone, and no surprise, he said, you know what, I'll take a week off, that's okay. So it will be closed that Thursday through Thursday. I will on Monday, I'll still be have access to phone and email, so if you have any questions, I won't be monitoring phone and email during the week off, but you still will be able to reach Rabbi, obviously, for any emergencies that may come up. If you're not aware, the Tikkun Alum Sock and Underwear Drive is underway. Each night, over 600,000 people live on the streets in the United States. As the weather turns cooler, let's bring the gift of warmth to that community. From November 18th through December 30th, we're going to continue to take donations of socks and underwear for adults, all sizes, all genders. And then those donations can be dropped off. We have a box out here in the foyer, so please drop them off there. And if you have any questions, please just reach out to Melissa Trapani, our VP of Tikkun Alum. We have a couple of different things going on regarding sporting events. Dallas Stars are sponsoring Jewish Community Night. And we have the link on the website, so if you're interested, they're offering discounted tickets and making a big call out to everybody to join them. And then we're also working with the Rough Riders. I am working on finalizing a date. I think it's going to be April 8th. And they are actually going to reserve a section just for CKA. We currently have 20 seats reserved, but they said if we get more interest, they're more than happy to expand that section. And so we'll have a section set aside in the bullpen just for CKA, and we'll all sit together for the Rough Riders game. So hopefully y'all can join us at one or both of those events. And then the last thing I wanted to point out, if you haven't noticed, we're running a 20% off sale in the gift shop for Hanukkah. And that will continue through till the end of Hanukkah. So be sure to drop by and get your things. Any extra Hanukkah supplies you need. We have Hanukkah candles aplenty, and everybody's got, mini menorahs. So please drop by and grab a few sets of candles. I'm sure that you're going to need those. And so that's all of our announcements for today. And so Congregation Kol Ami would like to take a moment to do a Misha Bayrock for anyone who needs healing or need of prayers. So let me read our list first. We have Joanne Barnes, Joyce Bloom, Natalie Bovino, Karen Brown, Sandy Cook, Audie Cundiff, Mark Davis, Nancy Inneman, Harry Inneman, the Fosnot family, Francine Feingold, Michelle Griffith, Carol Jones, Molly Kalig, John Kaufman, Deb Kaufman, Lauren Koenig, Alex Koenig, Richard Kurgan, Gianna LaMonica, Deb Ledden, Richard Linsner, Matt Levin, Phyllis Lorelli, Paxton Look, Wynn Marks, the Miley family, Paul Redwood Jr., Frank Reha, the Roberts family, Helen Rubel, Bruce Seri, Adrian Sandler, Dale Seaver, Anika Tovasay, Shoshana Wacholder, Happy Waterman, Howard Watt, Karen Weinstein, Barry Weinstein, Carly Wisniewski, and Tom Wolf. Is there anyone else in need of Misha Bayrock? Yes, sir.
Tom Holiday, Paul Davis, Shirley Hayden, Tony Odom, Dawn Sachs, and Maxine Collins.
Okay.
Molly Marks and Jake Zimmer.
Okay.
Jason did bring it.
Okay, great. All right, so if you'll please join us with the Misha Bayrock, it's on the back of your bulletin if you don't have it.
מי שברך אבותינו מקור הברכה לאמותינו, may the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. מי שברך אמותינו מקור הברכה לאבותינו, bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you'll please turn to page 82 and rise for Elena.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו פינויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ופושע יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגוברי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו העליון, אמת מלכנו את זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, ידעת היום בהשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת עינו.
Please be seated.
ביום
ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, שמו אחד. At this time, in our congregation and in congregations around the world, our thoughts turn to those that we've lost recently and at this time in years past. There's no one listed here for Shiva. Is there anyone commemorating Shiva who's lost someone in the last week? And we say Kanohora. See, that's good, all right? Shloshim. Is there anyone who's lost someone in the last 30 days? Also Kanohora. The congregation continues to mourn Dr. David Jenikoff, Lori Lee Weeks, and Barbara Sherman. And Yahrzeit, is there anyone remembering a loss at this time in years past? The congregation remembers the Yahrzeit of Gordon Bailey, Don Baker, Lottie Ruth Bricker, Eileen Cohen, Louis Feldman, Judy Hurwitz, Henry Jacobs, Tom Kirkwood, Samuel Nassif, Hamuel Paley, and Richard Sklar. And we rise as a single congregation as we say the Kadosh Yatom together on page 85. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, bi'alma divarach rutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chaye chon u'v'yomei chon, u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, v'alhag u'zman kariv v'imaru, amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam omeo maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudashah b'richu le'ela min kol b'chirata v'shirata tush v'chata v'nechemata da'miran v'yalma v'yimaru amen. Yehi shlama rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. May the source of peace bring peace to those who mourn and comfort those who are suffering a loss. Please be seated. Our closing song tonight is Esanai. Esanai.
Esahenai el checharim ve'ayin me'ayin yavo esri. Esahenai el checharim ve'ayin me'ayin yavo esri. Esri me'im Adonai Oseh shamayim va'aretz. Esri me'im Adonai Oseh shamayim va'aretz. Esahenai el reharim ve'ayin me'ayin yavo esri. Esahenai el reharim ve'ayin me'ayin yavo esri.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Please
Shabbat
join
shalom.
us for Oneg. Ah.